13th century up until the 17th century, middle of the 17th century, because after that they really stopped using plate armor. But
Skylar, have a seat.
okay, there we go. This is several examples of 13th century plate armor. I am also doing Eastern Europe, so this is some Russian armor. It's not really plate, some of it is. This is some kind of, I think, lamellar or, I guess,
I don't want to know how to spell that.
You don't need to. But I can spell it. This is just your generic European knight, and this is another example of an earlier knight that uses similar clothing. So what he's wearing, this is not actually full plate armor. He does have plates, though. He has plate pauldrons, and his helmet is metal, and he's wearing a cap underneath this. So you'd have this, it's called a bassinet or salet. I think it's a salet. That's a salet, not a bassinet. And you put on your great helm over that to make sure you have a double air protection. So if you get hit in the head with something, you don't get hurt. This is not plate, it's brigandine, which is a series of tiny metal plates riveted underneath a layer of leather. So that's why you can kind of see rivets sticking through. Lamellar was actually popular into the 16th century, but it stopped being used in battle after the 14th because it kind of became like the paranoid nobleman's favorite thing, because you can make it look like clothing, kind of. I mean, you can tell you're wearing it, but it's harder to tell, and it's less intrusive. So if someone tries to kill you, you can, be wearing plates. Then in the 14th century, armor gets more plate-ish. Eastern Europe kind of starts to go its own way in some ways. So this is a suit of German plate armor that I've actually seen in person. It's in the Met, it's really cool. And he's still wearing the brigandine, but you can see that he's got a lot of plate, and he now actually has full plate arms and legs, and he's wearing the armor. He's wearing chainmail underneath. We'll get back to that. It's important. This is some examples of more northern and eastern armors. So these are Polish knights. They're still wearing the chainmail. Kind of a theme that goes on in both Poland and Russia up until the 17th century and the 18th century. This is a Russian guy. He has scale armor on his coif. Thank you. And the coif is actually not made of metal. It's actually leather. And the problem with scales is that they're actually very weak, because even though you can't actually go straight through them, if you know how to cut leather, you see he's wearing leather, right? And the scales are sewn on individually, so they actually do have a tendency to fall off in battle, which is bad, because getting stabbed in the head where your neck is and as your scales fell off is never fun for anyone. So 15th century plate armor. So this is a series of Russian armors throughout the 15th century. This is lamellar. This is also lamellar, but this is more metallic lamellar. It's unpainted, and then this is chainmail and lamellar.
Scoot more towards the thingy. Better. Continue.
Anyways, this is a Gothic plate armor. It's not a white Italian. So the difference between a Gothic plate armor and a white Italian is that Gothic tends to be more of a darker color, and also it's a black metal. Also, Italian plate armor has asymmetrical pauldrons, and pauldrons are also important. The pauldron is this thing around the arm. You can kind of see right there. It's the shoulder protection. It's very large. And in Italian plate armor, it's very long on this side, and it sticks up like that in front of your face to protect you from blades. Also, something else I noticed is that he now does not use the brigandine plate. He actually uses a breastplate and a back plate to go with. Another interesting thing about this armor is that it has, so the gorget, which is the thing that goes around your neck, actually has a separate piece which you can kind of see. So what he's wearing is a salet, and this without the bot, it's actually two separate pieces. So you can kind of see that there's this chin piece. That's actually attached to the gorget, this thingy right here. The top part is not, and it's actually strapped on. So sometimes you'll see paintings of people who are not wearing gorgets, and they just have a really long helmet. It looks kind of weird. And that's the salet, but with the gorget, it's more protective. This guy is wearing a more sloped helmet. It is also a salet. It's just a slightly different kind of salet. The salet has an attached coif and chainmail back piece. So that's to protect you from blades. And then the visor is longer, so you don't have to wear the gorget, although I think he's wearing a gorget in this picture. Now we're going down to the 16th century, my favorite part. So armor goes a really long way in the 16th century. It becomes really, really protective. So I have lots of examples. This is
Very
a
ornate.
yes, yes, it is. People generally tend to equate older armor or even like Renaissance armor to be kind of poor metalwork. But really, the metalwork back then was insanely advanced, even compared to ours. Like most modern armorers can't do this, and they were using hammers, not like machines. So they were using their
thingamadoodles.
hands for this. This is a German plate armor. This is a poor man's or a fighting man's plate armor. So why is this not protecting the back? So you can. This is actually a Landsknecht plate armor. It's a mercenary from the 16th century, and they do love to show off. And so he's not wearing.
The leg boot things, right?
They're not. They're greaves. He's not wearing greaves, but he is wearing. He's not actually wearing coys either. He's wearing a skirt, but no leg pieces. We'll call them leg pieces. What they're actually called. The bottom part of the leg down here, where your lower leg is the greave, and it's attached to a boot. The top part is a cois. The cois are the two pieces, and then there's a little thing that goes over here that I don't know the name of, and that protects you and allows you to actually bend your leg.
Knee
There's
pad.
also sometimes you'll see segmented boots, but that's generally for richer people, and this wouldn't necessarily be a rich person, just a man at arms. Another thing to note is that knights had died out by this point, so this is all armor for either really, really posh people who like to show off, or mercenaries, basically.
Well,
Why knights died out?
Because it's really expensive to train a knight, because you have to train them from being a tiny little boy as a squire to being a big, strong man, and if they're not actually all that good at being a knight, then they die, and you've just wasted a ton of money. And having an entire army of those is really a bad idea when you can just hire a bunch of well-trained professional mercenaries who actually know what they're doing, and have been trained since childhood, but are generally more reliable, and you don't have to actually do the training part. There were sometimes standing armies called retainers. This is an example of some Russian retainers. They're wearing something that looks a little bit like a Turkish plated mail disc. It's not, it's their version of a chest plate. It doesn't have a back plate, and it's circular like that. This is a French armor. The reason I have the German one is because the German armor is more dark and striped. This is a French one. It's really hard to see from here, but it's actually etched with really, really cool designs, and it kind of inlays backwards. This armor is more ornamental than actually useful. You could probably fight in this. Because
Fashion over function kind of a thing.
yeah, I mean, like the armor that you can see in the title, the historical European plate armor. There's a piece of armor down here with a horse armor. That's the parade armor of Sigismund II, and he never wore that in battle. He never actually went to a battle. He just wore that when he was on parade, like running around the streets on a horse. This is some Polish armor because I like it. It has wings attached. Those are real. That is actually a thing they did. And they were horsemen. And what you'll notice is that there's no bottom piece and that the pauldrons are very small. The reason for this is because they were trying to be light. They're hussar armor, and hussars are lancers, so they're up on horses and they're going very fast. And the reason the wings exist is because the wings make a noise, so that if you're riding around in a circle and there's still other hussars, the other hussars know you're coming and know to go away, so they don't get hit by their own people. It also scares people. I mean, come on.
That's smart.
Do you know what the sound would be like? Do you know what the sound would be like?
Have you ever heard like a flag flapping in a really strong breeze? It's like that, but really loud. And the thing about hussars that's actually interesting, this is a side note, probably not really about armor, but their lances could only be used once because once they stab you, then they break off, and then they have to use either a poleaxe, which is interestingly another completely different thing. Have you ever heard the derogatory term poleaxe? Yes, I have too. It's not very nice. That actually comes from poleaxe because in Shakespeare, in Hamlet, the Polish king is said to have a poleaxe because that was the general single armament that most of the Polish army would have had, hence the term poleaxe. So now we have the 17th century, which is different. This is a Battle of Vienna armor. I think it's just cool. You'll note that they're still using shields. Shields had actually fallen out of fashion by the 16th century because plate armor was so good that hitting it with a sword is not really going to do anything anymore, so you don't need a shield. This is a buff coat. It's made of leather, tan in a certain way, so it's very flexible, very strong. He's wearing a pot helmet, which goes backwards to protect you from flying debris. The visor is very ornate. This is actually the armor of James II of England. It's his show-off armor. Yes, it's very Civil War-ish, although he actually came about 20 years after, so. The breastplate is unornamented, but it is nice. You can kind of see how it's